And we are live. Hello, AO world. It's nice to see everyone here again. You got yourself, Drew, Vibes Architect at Forward Research. We got the one, the only, Johnny Ringo. Johnny, what's poppin', baby?
Oh, just the normal, community's buzzing, things are getting developed, people are launching apps. It's a happening day.
Yeah, it is. Every time I see you, you got like another trinket on the wall behind you. You're slowly filling that up.
don't,
It's impressive.
don't pay attention.
It's
it's my
impressive.
it's my symbiote Clintar collection.
My kid has gotten addicted to these unboxing videos where it's just like a YouTuber who's got every Lego toy known to the planet. And he just like he just opens them up and that's the whole video and he's got like 5 million views. So I'm just tossing it out there in case, if you get tired of forward research, maybe an unboxing career is in your future. And then we
Start
got
talking about places.
yeah, I know. And then we also have the one, the only, Mr. William Kibler of Vela Ventures. Will, good to see you, man. How you doing? Now, where in the world are you? Still in Lisbon right now? Are you traveling?
I'm still in Lisbon. Yeah, it's good to be home. It's good to be in
God,
Portugal.
I gotta get over there, man. I keep reading about how everyone's moving over there. That's the new scene. I'm just so jealous.
Buzzing,
But
yeah. Well, come visit at some point. Yes,
no,
we'll try up here as
no,
well.
sure. Are you going to Token? Are you going to Singapore for Token 2049?
Yeah, we'll be around. I think we'll be at the main event.
Yeah.
We'll be around, and obviously our weekday sort of coincides, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, have you I've never been to Singapore. Have you? What's the vibes like? I'm curious.
oh no, I've not done Singapore, so that'll be my first. It'll be interesting.
We were looking at like guerrilla marketing activations for Singapore, and every vendor was like, "No, that's illegal in Singapore. No, yeah, no, you'll get arrested for that. Like you cannot do anything outside of like very like the police permitting is months and months and
Oh,
months away. So that's my only sense of Singapore. They're not messing around over there. But yeah, so as Will mentioned, actually, there is an Arweave Day Asia. If you're watching this, we've been promoting the speakers who will be presenting from projects, from also from the core AO and RWeave teams, everything around the ecosystem. It is open to the public. You are going to have to get your own flight over there, most of you. But if you're in the vicinity, we would love to have you. You should be able to find the link pretty easily if you just scroll down the AOX page. But without further ado, Will, I wanted to check in with you because Vela Ventures is like basically one of the coolest uh, you're not even like a project, but you're like a series of projects. So like your own contained ecosystem in there. Like what? I'll just kick it to you. Like what is the latest of Vela? Like I can't even keep up with how much stuff you're doing.
Sure. Um, well, like you say, where do we start? There's a lot going on, right? I think, uh, like you say, Vela is kind of a family of products. The main goal is to just increase DeFi activity, and the kind of level of products that are being pushed out within the ecosystem. Hopefully, we can sort of drive liquidity to the ecosystem and provide more opportunities for people to interact with AO as a protocol and kind of spread the word, spread the gospel of this technology, hopefully to other ecosystems, but also also just increase the utility of the network internally as well. So I think probably the most exciting thing that we have to kind of talk about is the Vela token. Obviously, with this is something that we sort of pushed live today, I guess, and this is I guess announcement time. Um,
Ooh.
so obviously with AO, there's a big kind of focus on the fair launching and various really kind of interesting models of fundraising and kind of token mechanics. And so it's something we've been really carefully considering. Obviously, kind of over the last 6 months, how do we play this? How do we best kind of what's the best thing to launch? How do we utilize this technology? How do we leverage this ecosystem as best as possible? And kind of speaking to as many people as possible, it kind of became clear that there's a lot of positive sentiment towards Vela and the family of products that we're building. And so instead of kind of muddying the world with lots of various kind of tokens, which we will have for different products and things like that going forward. There was a lot of interest in kind of encapsulating a lot of that value within kind of in one place. And so that's what the Vela token is for. And so as a very basic kind of overview of the mechanics, we kind of obviously have various products and protocols that we're launching, many of which will have tokens attached to them. Some of them will be yield generating, some of them will be eligible for fee distributions, governance rights, etc., etc. And every token we launch and now and going forward, there will be a 10% allocation within the tokenomics that goes into the Vela treasury for the Vela token. And the Vela token essentially acts as as a basket of these assets and a way of people getting exposure to what we're building as a team without having to kind of manually balance and manage what kind of project tokens they're wanting to hold or invest in. So you can kind of look at it almost like a basket of products / index within the PermaWeb index that just gives you exposure to us as a team and all of the products and services that we're building and will build in future. And obviously, whether those assets in future are yield bearing or revenue generating or distributing in some way, those rewards will be distributed proportionally to Vela token holders as well. So yeah, it's live. It's live now on the PermaWeb index. I think hopefully I've delegated, so we'll see if it works, we'll see what comes in. But it's super exciting times. It's very cool to finally see it listed on there after so many months of planning and legal kind of paperwork and all that kind of stuff that comes along with these token launches. And so yeah, it's a really good feeling to have something live.
First of all, congratulations. I know that I'm sure you kind of briefly mentioned it. That is not, it sounds like you just press a button and your token goes out, but it's a fair amount of economic thinking, of regulatory, legal stuff to do. So congratulations. I know that's not a small lift. Shout out to us getting some breaking news on Duh. You heard it here first, people. Well, I'm kind of curious, like the idea, like tokens from a founder's perspective is kind of interesting to me right now. Like I've been on the back end of other projects and in the course of launching tokens. And one of my first questions to you is, to what degree was like timing a part of your consideration? And when I say timing, I mean like amid the general macroeconomic backdrop. I know that I've been at other projects where there's like teeth gnashing, where it's like, oh, now's a good time to launch a token. Now's not a good time to launch a token. Does that factor into your mind at all? Or is it just like, dude, what's happening is what's happening. We can't control it. We're just going to launch it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's quite a lot of that of consideration that goes into it. However, it's also, I think, really easy to get kind of caught up in that because everybody has a different opinion and nobody really knows. So I think from our standpoint, or my standpoint, I'm a big believer in, if it's the right time, push and execute, because otherwise you're potentially leaving it to question. And we felt like now was the right time due to some of the essentially what we have launching over the next couple of weeks, and the utility of Vela becoming kind of tangible and real. And obviously we're still in relatively positive market conditions. Who knows what that will look like going forward? So yeah, it was. There's certainly a lot of that factors into the decision making. But again, you have an idea and you want to push it live. Like, it will never be the perfect conditions or the perfect moment, right? And that's always kind of a factor that plays into when you're launching any product, whether it's a token or an app or anything else.
No better time than now, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Will. It's like, everyone's got a different opinion. Like, if you ask people, are we in like good economy, bad economy, bull market, bear market, you're probably gonna get like a coin flip answer, basically. It's very subjective. My ears picked up though what we got coming in a couple of weeks. What you got coming in a couple of weeks?
Okay. Yeah, I
I
mean,
put you on the
some
spot. I put you on
serious
the
alpha
spot.
being dropped here. So we have a beacon token launch coming out in a couple of weeks, which is something we're really excited about. It will be the kind of first step in our mission to take this technology of AO and showcase it to other ecosystems and the rest of the world. And so that's something that we've been planning and working on really hard behind the scenes. We also have we have a Vento token that will soon be launching with a staking mechanism that will allow users to earn a share in the rewards and fees from the platform. Essentially, all fees that are generated will be distributed to token holders. So whether that's you as a direct Vento token holder or whether you're holding via Vela token, you'll be eligible to receive those rewards. And then we have one other project which I think I'm certainly super excited about, but the founder I believe is on in a couple of weeks to talk about it, so I won't go too much into detail. But I think
Okay, yeah.
we have an extremely exciting project coming out that's kind of being thrown around internally at the moment that I think goes a huge way towards increasing the commercial use case of Arweave in general and hopefully exposure to the network and additional use cases from other infrastructure providers to enterprise and things like that.
I know okay, now I know what you're referring to. Yes, Will is correct. And obviously not this episode. The next episode of Duh, which is October 2nd, we have a Vela Umbrella Vela Inc. Member coming on to talk about a very cool project. Stay tuned for that. We can't spoil the surprise, but it is completely novel in AO and Arweave land. So yeah, good call, Will. Um,
The A and
yeah,
AO
actually,
is alpha oriented, you know.
alpha oriented. We should have named the podcast that alpha oriented, not podcast anymore, live stream. Kind of very specific. I'm kind of jumping around here, but it's because you keep throwing so many interesting tidbits out there, Will. So I know that like the sharing of revenue for Vento. Like I actually, and shout out to one of my favorite Telegram groups, which is Lobster DAO. There was like a raging discussion about this in Lobster DAO the other week, and I was actually, I used to be part of like a perps dex that did sort of like a similar mechanism, and there was a raging debate that I'm curious your thoughts on about the pros and cons of revenue sharing for like for a decentralized, let's say like financial platform versus using that money for buybacks and burns, basically. Um, uh, Sometimes I feel like it's extremely well received when people are like, dude, I'm getting a cut, I'm getting a continual check into my pocket, so to speak, just by holding this token. But then some other people seem to just like token price is what they want. Like token go up. Do you have like where do you fall on that spectrum? Is it sort of like you got to take it on a case by case basis? Is it, I'm very curious your thoughts here.
There's a case by case element to it for sure, but uh, I think that the buyback and burn model is relatively misunderstood and potentially used too much. And I think it's a waste. And the reason I say that, or a lot of the time, and I think there's some who have done it really well. I think what Pump and Hyperliquid are doing with their buybacks is great, but purely because of the level of volume and revenue that those guys are at. But when you're talking about a protocol that maybe has, a 10, 20 million dollar market cap, realistically, even if you're making 100 grand a month and you're taking 50% of that and buying back and burning the tokens, you're burning through a lot of revenue,
Mm,
but the price impact that's actually going to cause is so minimal. Like you have
mm,
to be generating, pump.fun or hyperliquid levels of revenue for those buybacks to have a real price impact. And so I think most of these protocols are kind of just throwing money down the toilet that could either be distributed as rewards to users or used as further product development. I think yeah, I think using a huge proportion of your revenue to buy back tokens off the market and burn them when there's relatively minimal price impact is a flawed model for most use cases.
That's a very savvy perspective, and I wish some other companies, one of which I worked for once upon a time, would heed. That makes a ton of sense. And I'm also curious, just because like I come from a little bit of a DeFi background. When it comes to Vento, like, are you even at the stage yet where that's sort of like differentiating between, I don't know if you want to call them power users versus like whales versus as does that come into play yet, or is it more just about like establishing a welcoming environment for anyone at this point?
I think distribution of the token holders is certainly important, right? Like, you don't want anything to be super top heavy, especially if you do implement some level of governance. But I think there's just an importance in people being able to have ownership in products that they believe in and be eligible for the rewards that they should receive for having that kind of confidence and
Mhm.
being able to kind of put their money where their mouth is.
Makes a ton of sense. Hey, by the way, I'm a KOL, so if you want to throw me a referral link, I'm more than happy to have that discussion with you after this live stream. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, let's take that offline.
Yeah, we'll take that offline. Yeah, no, just kidding. Switching gears a little bit to Beacon. Had you on me, Johnny, and Jeff had you on Spaces way back when, and you were saying something that was very interesting to me, but you're way smarter than me, so I didn't fully get it, which is talking about using the infrastructure for Beacon and expanding it kind of beyond a wallet. Like, do you recall what I'm even referring to? I remember thinking it sounded very, very smart, but I'll be honest with you, I couldn't quite sum it up if I tried.
Absolutely. So when we're kind of looking at AO and the stuff that's being built and the stuff that's in the roadmap, there's two really super exciting features, I think, from my standpoint. One, three really. One is already out, which is the ability to make web requests. The barrier to any kind of interoperability or cross-chain, trustless cross-chain actions today is purely because these networks are totally siloed. They all have different signing algorithms. If you use a bridge, you're just transferring money to a bridge provider and they're then sending you money back. It's all custodial. None of it's kind of, trustless in any way. And that kind of relay device and the ability to make web requests is, something that some other networks have, but it's something, one is a really important stepping stone because it allows a smart contract on AO to kind of submit, for example, a signed transaction through an RPC node for BTC or ETH, whatever that may be. The second feature, and definitely the most important one, which we're still very eager to get our hands on, is the confidential compute one. And we're hoping that will allow an AO process to essentially generate, store, and compute data that it has access to, only it has access to, right? So what that could look like is, as a very simple example, is you can deploy an AO process that has a BTC key pair and it has a BTC address. And ultimately, Bitcoin as a non-smart contracting platform, you can then deploy a smart contract on AO that acts as a Gnosis safe style account abstraction wallet that is able to custody and move BTC natively on the BTC chain without kind of wrapped assets or anything like that. And so if that's something that from a technical standpoint we're able to achieve and we're able to implement smart contracts having keys for or managing keys and custody of your assets on different chains and seamlessly kind of managing those wallets, that is super powerful. One, it allows us to build truly like trustless bridge infrastructure, and it allows us to kind of build interoperability that doesn't rely on all these super flaky kind of off-chain Python scripts and bits of infrastructure. And secondly, fitting with the real AO narrative, it enables a lot of really exciting like automation and workflow, or automation kind of workflows, right? So, for example, if you have the example I've been using a lot is if you have some USDC on Base and you wanted to stake it in a lending protocol on Solana, currently you would have to have a Base wallet and an ETH wallet and a Solana wallet, and you would have to have, gas balances for all of these different networks, and you would have to make 4 different transactions to kind of bridge to different networks and protocols and things like that. The dream is to have an AO account abstraction process that's running that can manage all of those transactions, and within the Beacon app, you can one click, one button, and kind of construct an entire flow like that, and your process and account abstraction can kind of go off and handle all of those transactions in sequence on your behalf.
So
So,
like, no, go
oh,
ahead, John.
sorry. I've been doing a little bit of building with something that I nicknamed hypersites, and that gave me a little window into some of the flexibility you're talking about how a process can manage. How do I put this? Like, a process is built in Lua, right? But it is capable of hosting, outputting, and executing code that's not in Lua. Like, you can host a blob of code, push that to a front end. The front end, helps it execute, but then the results stay on the process. So what you're talking about is really close to what I just recently started kind of playing with, and it's super exciting stuff because you could have an agentic process that can handle any token from any chain, and all it needs to recognize is your balances that it's currently holding for you, and then it could give you an output token on AO of equal value. So, like, this is super exciting stuff. I'm glad you guys are jumping in on this.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the motivation is from personal experience. I ran a bridge product like probably 18 months ago in the ZK Sync ecosystem, and it was the first time I really worked on some cross-chain stuff, and sort of seeing how these things operate on the back end. Although it is the state of the art, and we do have no better solution as it stands. I think it's a ginormous value proposition that AO as underlying infrastructure gives to all of these other networks, and yeah, hopefully that brings a huge level of exposure and excitement around the network as well.
So I'm gonna ask some dumb questions here. Everyone's gonna be rolling their eyes at me. So, like right now, if I go to an AO native DEX, you can swap AO native tokens. Like I could go to Vento and do Apis. Thanks for adding Apis, by the way. I've started to mess around with my allocations. You could swap Apis to AO or something like that. So the immediate game plan here is I go to Vento and there's Solana, or there's USDC, and I can swap between them, or no? Am I totally misunderstanding?
No, you're understanding, and you'll be able to swap in between them without using a kind of fully custodial, quote unquote, DeFi product that exists today, but truly in an end-to-end trustless fashion, which is
Are you
never
talking vaults? I'll be honest with you. Is that like a vault we're talking about? Is like the current solution?
uh
Not really.
not really.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. So I see. I've been seeing a lot of like stuff on my timeline about like a new vault opened up, and I was kind of wondering like what's the benefit of partaking in that. Um. Okay. And back to sort of like more of the on the technical side. So you're waiting for the confidential compute to kick in to enable this, if I'm following correctly. And is that because like otherwise like people's random key pairs would be transparent on each process or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. We're just not able to build it until that's ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're patiently waiting on and super excited to get our hands on it as quickly as possible, or as soon as
Say
it's
that
ready.
because I was messing around and I'm like on vibe coding and I'm like 99% sure Cloud Code put my private key code on key file on like an AO process. So it's out there, you bastards. If you can find my private key file in AO process, you've got my 10
I'd
AO.
love to see it.
Yeah, now go ahead. Um, Okay. Very, very interesting stuff. I got one super random big picture question. Like, you just like from my perspective, well, you just like popped on the scene. You're like, hey, here's 6 projects. Like, welcome. Like, meet Vela Ventures, motherfuckers. How did you get it? Like, did you run into Sam one day? Like, how did you get involved in the AO ecosystem? You just came out just swinging all of a sudden.
So Prior to kind of running Velo, myself and the rest of the team, we were running a Web3 consultancy, just kind of building anything we could get our hands on. And I think it's sort of the de facto business that a lot of teams fall into, right? Especially in this kind of fast-paced landscape where you move around to different projects and you
Yeah.
meet and you kind of build this collection of really talented people. And as a you kind of start to think, well, how do I, this project is done, how do I hold on to these people? And so you
Hmm. Hmm.
end up with this sort of de facto agency model. And as that Web3 agency, we had a client like just reach out and was asking about AO and some of the stuff, what we could build, et cetera, et cetera. And we, I mean, initially, like we were building some stuff on Sui just before that, and I've kind of touched pretty much every network you can think of. I was having a conversation with an investor just now about forking Dash, and he was like, "Wow, that's a real throwback." Um, and
Are you talking about Dash, like 2017 Dash, like the blue emblem with the white D in it? Oh man, that takes me back, dude. Like that takes me back to Doji mining. Like what?
And so from like we've kind of touched everything and worked on everything and we've heard about this AO thing. I wasn't sure what AO was. I'd obviously heard of Arweave. It's been a big name for a long time. And initially I was like, okay, it's agency work, fine, great. Where's these Rust contracts that don't work? Where's the this, that, or the other? We'll figure it out. And I kind of slowly just started playing around with it and becoming really accustomed to the architecture with the asynchronous messaging, and then reading about all of those kind of features that I've just talked about with Beacon kind of really clicked the light bulb in my head, to that this was potentially a way to solve a really big problem that exists and permeates throughout the whole Web3 industry, and until today. So from there, we kind of started building Beacon and looking at what that could be, and yeah, sort of I guess just got a bit carried away and got stuck in and just
Got
started
carried.
doing
Yeah,
stuff.
no. You had too many. I've seen pictures of your desk with all the Red Bulls on it. You just had one too many Red Bulls, and you just
That was
looked up.
that was during when we were building the ledger recovery tool. Yeah, that was a really fun period of time. That was probably ironically that was probably one of my favorite projects we've worked on. It was a really like tough and fun problem to kind of like just hive in on over a couple of weeks and shut the windows and lock the doors and
Oh,
No
shout out to
information
you.
gets out.
I think no one is more appreciative of Johnny, so the Discord doesn't keep getting peppered with like, what about Ledger? Like, that was a godsend from
It
Vela.
was. That was
Yeah,
huge. Because
that was huge.
I tried to crack it. I couldn't get past the key signing, so I won't make you give up your secret sauce, but I am curious to figure out how you guys got around the data item key signing that was not available on Ledger. I assume you used the key manually to create your own data items, but I won't make you give up the secret sauce on that one.
But I'm sure that he'll give you the lowdown.
I'll give you the lowdown. Yeah, I'll give the secrets. Okay. Um, I was looking through Vela's website. AOSync. Has that evolved? Is that anything different now? Did I misread?
Initially, that was something we wanted to we thought was a really important feature for Beacon. I Although we probably will have to do it at some point, I've always been very much against the idea of browsers in DeFi, whether that's using like a Chrome extension wallet, with browsers are the most insecure application on any device. And I think by default, when people started building mobile applications, the easy option was to just, well, let's just embed a browser in the application, right? And you kind of see this everywhere. But I think from our standpoint, one, we didn't want to add a browser version purely to control the level of like quality that people are interfacing with. When you start doing things like that, not all the products are sort of mobile optimized, and not all of them kind of work super well on mobile, or you could be visiting phishing links, there's ways kind of to restrict what people are viewing, but ultimately it's not an optimal sort of user experience on mobile. So for the DeFi protocols that we're prioritizing and we're working through more and more of them as we go, we're just natively integrating them into the application, so they're part of the UI. So if you go to buy an ARNS name, you're not being redirected to the ARIA website. The flow is within the app, and it's the same if you want to provide liquidity on liquid ops. You just go within the app UI and you do that. However, people want access to everything, right? So we needed a way. We needed a way of people being able to access DeFi protocols on AO on their desktop without compromising security and ever having the private keys leave the device. So we kind of went with a Wallet Connect style interface, right, where you can create a live session connection with a website. You can kind of carry out whatever you want or use whatever DeFi protocol you want, while still the private keys, still signing within the TEE on your mobile device, and that kind of never leaves the mobile device. And yeah, so I think it was super important for Beacon initially. We kind of had plans. We thought maybe we would at some point we would open it up and for other wallet providers and things like that. But I think it's not a priority for us at the moment, just due to the maturity of the ecosystem. But I think as more products and protocols and custody solutions kind of come live and join the space, then I certainly see it becoming a kind of connective tissue potentially at some point for all of those things to tie together and use as one central way to communicate.
That makes sense. A couple more philosophical questions, if anything, is that we talk a lot in the AO and R ecosystem about like building a fairer cyberspace. Fair launch, which Vela is the Vela token is a part of now. But I've been reading some of the news headlines lately have been depressing me, where it's like, increasing age verification laws here, increasing restrictions around the world. I mean, do you see us being able to move the needle? Do you see us at an inflection point? Do you think I'm just overreacting and that this is just sort of the way things go, they ebb and flow? Like, do you even think about it at all, or are you just two heads down building?
I mean, there's an element of it, right? It's not a primary focus. It's not something we have any control over. So we kind of have to just be adaptive as these things evolve. But I think the regulatory landscape is moving in the right direction, and it'll be interesting to see whether it follows that direction over the coming years, or what that kind of looks like. But again, like as an industry, I think we just have to focus on being reactionary and making sure we stay compliant. But at the same time, I think I think there's more and more consumer applications and consumer use cases coming out for crypto, and I think all of those things are insanely positive. And I think the barrier to entry is certainly lowering. If we go back to those days we were talking about when Dash was a thing, right? Like trying to buy crypto
Mm.
was like not easy, or trying to like even custody it, you would have to download the like GUI C++ compiled like wallets and do a full node sync, and I think yeah, Johnny knows what I'm talking about. But every year we get closer to it being the norm, and I think that's the right direction. So we can only be happy and have a positive outlook for going forward.
That's definitely true. I mean, like the barriers to entry for crypto are absolutely becoming easier. Not perfect yet, but becoming a lot easier. That's 100% true. And then one question is on the more specific to AO and Arweave. What do you think some of like our biggest misconceptions are? Because you're actually kind of in a perfect position. You were in a consultancy. You're talking to a lot of different chains and people out there, and you're already familiar with Arweave. Like, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about AO and Arweave, and like how can we correct them,
Misconceptions.
if any? I mean, the answer could be no. We're killing it, which I would love to hear.
I think misconceptions not so much, especially with Arweave. Like everybody knows what Arweave
Yeah.
is. Like, I spend a lot of time speaking to people in different ecosystems and various investors from sort of all over the place. And I'm generally often surprised like how many of them go, oh yeah, we were farming AO during the kind of initial period, and uh, how much the kind of launch of AO got out there and how much exposure that got out. But generally, I think speaking to people, a lot of it is yeah, I got really excited about it, but then I didn't, I kind of forgot about it, and like yeah, it kind of they didn't really check in or they didn't really see much so I guess coming out post that initial excitement. But I think there's certainly an awareness of what AO is. I think there's just not necessarily awareness of how great and how unique it is, right?
Yeah. 100%. No, I mean, like, I feel like once some of like what we're talking about, how the confidential compute, like the ability just to, something. I was gonna say it's simple. It's not simple, but like just something like being able to trade AO for USDC on base or something like that is gonna blow people's minds. And that's just one of many applications. 100%. Will, if someone wanted to get in touch with Vela, they are interested in the Vela token, they're interested in Beacon, they're like, this is your time to shill. Like, where would you want to point them to? Where would you want to route people to? So if people are watching us right now and said, dude, this sounds like an incredible project, where would you want them to go?
Sure. We have two Discords for Beacon and Vento. We're trying to keep the number of Discords as small as possible and manageable, but I think it certainly makes sense to have some product separation somewhere. So if you have like specific questions or you need support with any of those products, or you want to kind of hop in and talk about those, you can find those links on the websites, on Twitter pages, things like that. If you want to get in touch with myself personally, you on the Vela website, Vela.Ventures, my contact details will be under my profile. So don't hesitate. Like, feel free to reach out to me on Telegram, or hit me up on, I guess, Discord. I might be slower to reply, but yeah, I'm generally around and always looking to have as many conversations with as many people as possible.
Well, dude, I feel like I started to scratch the surface. I have a feeling I'm gonna think of a couple more questions after this live stream, but it's been a pleasure talking to you, Will. I've learned a ton. Johnny, any last thoughts before we say au revoir?
Man, there's so many things I could get deep
Uh,
into the weeds on, but in the essence of
I think me
not.
and Jenny are gonna have a separate
yeah,
conversation afterwards. I think
yeah, you guys have
we'll
your own.
walk
I
through
wouldn't
it.
understand it. I wouldn't understand any of it. Yeah. Okay.
But appreciate you going through everything you've talked about. Been real cool to listen to.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
All right.
It's been fun.
All right. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you. Take care.
Cheers, guys. See you later.